Well, it's good to have everyone joining us on this Monday morning for our Monday morning legacy recap. We haven't got to do this in quite a while
It's been a little
because
bit.
everybody's been so busy and kind of scattered.
Yeah.
But this is something that we enjoy doing. So welcome, and I pray that this is a blessing to you and helps you kind of recap what we talked about yesterday. Because yesterday, if you missed it, you need to go watch it. But we had an incredible
sure.
time yesterday. But before we dive into kind of talking about yesterday's message, Pastor Andrew, why don't you tell them about VBS? Because it was outstanding last
Man,
night.
I had an incredible time last night, and I'm not even a kid, and
Yeah.
just want to let y'all know we do have VBS going on right now through Wednesday night from 5 to 8 p.m., ages 6 to 12. If you have kids, I promise you, that you will not regret bringing them. They will have an incredible time. We have just incredible children's pastors, our team that put this whole thing together. They just do a great job. So
Yeah.
bring them out. You'll have a great time. If you want to stay, you can. Just have fun with your kids. If you want to drop them off, go have dinner, date night, that's okay too. But bring your kids. They'll have an incredible time.
Yeah, I was here last night, and it was a lot of fun. Great engagement. They had snow cones.
Yeah, they were
And
good too.
yes, they were. I got the watermelon, lemon, lime combination. That was really good. Tonight, there's going to be a petting zoo. So parents, get your kids out. It's going to be great. Tomorrow night, there's going to be water games, and they have water inflatables that are going to be here. So you need to make sure your kids are dressed to get wet. They're going to have a lot of fun. And then the last night, they're bringing a bubble truck, and that's going to be a whole new experience. So, but the team really has done a great job. Pastor Bethany and Peter, just great, man, wonderful job. All the volunteers, thank you so much for your help. So come out and join us. Also, just want to let you know that this coming Sunday night, August 15th, now we've done this in previous years. Last year with COVID, we didn't get to meet in person. We had to do a little bit different. But we are able this year, August the 15th at 6 o'clock at the high school auditorium in Springtown. We are going to be having our back to school prayer rally. And we have about 7 churches in the community that are coming together. And we're going to have worship, and then we're going to have prayer. We have different pastors praying over different areas of the school. But it is important that we cover our schools in prayer, especially after last year and going into this year. We really need things to kind of settle down and move forward in the right way.
Well,
so-
I think there's some things that shifted. It's a new reality.
Yeah.
With in light of what's taken place over last year.
Yes.
I think that's talking to several teachers last week. I think that's one of the big things.
Yes. So Legacy Church, we talked about it yesterday, but because we are a church of legacy, please come out and be part of the rally. Don't just say, well, it's not important. It doesn't involve me. If you are part of Legacy Church, it involves you because we set the tone for the next generation, and we want them to know that we believe in them. So I'm just hoping, I'm praying that Legacy Church has the biggest representation. That's not about competition. That's not what it's about. But I know you know how to pray, and so we need you there this coming Sunday night at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a great time. But now it's time to kind of get back, and we're going to talk about our lesson from yesterday, our sermon. It was totally different than anything we've
never done anything like that.
Yeah, we've never done. We actually did a tag team message with all 5 pastors, and we did it in 35 minutes. Now, you know that is a miracle all by itself because one pastor, I don't think there's one pastor that has been able to do it in 35 minutes other than Pastor Brooklyn, maybe.
I think I did it once.
You did it once?
Yeah,
Maybe I did it once, but that's once out of thousands. However, yesterday we did it, but we had an air horn that kind of marked our time. So maybe that's a new thing that they're going to do. I had several of the board members say, Pastor, that's the new thing. Every Sunday you get up to preach. After 10 minutes, your first point, they're going to blow the air horn, and then the third point, and that's the kind of board I have. And I'm just kidding. We joked about that, and I have a great board, and we can laugh about those kind of things. But it was great.
It really was.
But the whole purpose was we wanted to give people a picture of kind of what legacy looked like.
Yeah.
Our vision is change a life, change a legacy. And so we've been living that out, but we really wanted to help the congregation see what it looked like for each age group.
Yeah.
And their importance in the process of legacy, because legacy doesn't just happen. It has to be intentional. We have to be intentional, and every age group is important to the process.
Yeah.
So that means all generations are important, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, what's the point of the process if all the generations aren't involved?
Yes.
That's the whole. There is no process of legacy if all the generations aren't involved to some degree.
And that's the whole point, is at Legacy Church, all generations matter. Yeah. And because they matter, we wanted to show kind of each part, each age in that, how they fit, where they fit, what is their piece of the puzzle. We're one body, and we worship together, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. However, each kind of have a part to play in this, yeah. And we wanted to be aware of that. So I was able to go first, and I knew they did that for a purpose, that 7 minutes and then I would be done, and I couldn't have a chance to go back up. So I really appreciate them for doing that. That was a wise move on our scheduling department, so they did good with that. But my part was talking about it has to be established.
Yeah.
You can talk about legacy all day long, and we hear it a lot. It's thrown around a lot. Now that we've called our church Legacy Church about 3 years ago, we felt the Lord lead in that direction. Everywhere I go, I hear legacy, but when I hear it, I don't hear vision behind it. I don't understand
right.
why. And so it's important for you to understand the why. So it has to be established. And the generation that establishes it, while we're all part of it, it's my generation, right? I've been here 25 years. I'm over the 50 mark. I'm still young, still vibrant. I'm praying I get to live to be 100. That's going to be great. However, we wanted people to know that if you're in that 50 and above crowd, you matter. Yeah. A lot of times when you hit the certain ages, they begin to think they don't matter. But what we want you to know is you matter. You are significant, because we are the ones that are establishing the legacy, the culture for the next generation to grab hold of. Yeah. So that means that everything we do, starting now and throughout our time, is establishing something for the next generation. And so that means every time we come to church, every time we're at our home, every time we're out in the community, how we present ourselves, how we go after God, the atmosphere and the presence of God that we want to hand down, we have to establish right now. So if we want a culture of revival for the next generations, we have to establish that. We have to take ownership and responsibility of that. And so I just want to challenge you. If you are in that category, and again, we're all one body, but if we really want to make this work, we have to understand how we fit and how it all comes together. Yeah. We are establishing it now. We can't wait any longer. We can't put it off. Now is the time. And so we need to establish the culture that we want the next generation to commit to. And I said yesterday, the ultimate question is what, or does the culture we're creating, is the culture we're creating worth the next generation committing to?
Yeah.
Because we can talk about, well, they just don't commit. Well, that may be true, but sometimes I think it may be on the opposite end, and that is it's hard for them to commit to something that we really haven't left them. They don't want to grab hold of it because it's not alive. It's not authentic. It's not real. But we want to pass down something that's worth committing to.
I think on that topic, establishing, there are principles that don't change.
Yeah.
That need to be passed on, of, basic how to treat people, how to, be a good, honest person. But there's another shift that has taken place. It's the age of technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that, I'm not going to call them older people. I'm going to call them established people.
Yeah.
That a lot of them don't grasp the technology, but there's still things that need to be passed on to the younger crowd. There's still things that we still need to know, that we still need to grab hold of to bring into the new age of technology, the new dynamic of being human.
Yeah.
There's shifts that have taken place that I feel like for the younger generation that they're like, oh, well, we don't need that anymore because we have this.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
There are things that have, ran their course of time, that have died out, which are maybe some good things, some things that would be good, but there's other things that they don't change.
Yeah.
They don't. So for the established,
yeah,
those things still need to be passed on. Those things still need to be, you need to be an example in those things,
yeah,
so that it's modeled for the younger generations.
Yeah, I'm thinking about establishing, what is it we need to establish so the younger generation can commit to? Because, yeah, they have technology, but if we give them these biblical, enduring components that are for all ages, of all times, they can use it in technology. And I think worship, how we worship, when we come to church, we set the tone for worship by going after God and pursuing God, discipleship, being people of the Word, and being committed to the Word, evangelism, reaching our friends, compassion, showing love to the people around us, that sense of revival, that sense of the activity of God. The next generation needs that. They can have all of the technology, but if they don't have that, the technology in itself isn't going to be able to transform hearts. They have to have the essence of the gospel and the power of God, don't you think?
I think, yeah, for sure. That's what I'm talking about. The things that don't change, that have ran its course of time and will until Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
But I want to say, be careful to the older generation. Be careful criticizing new things.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful criticizing technology, because that's how we live.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some stuff that we need to not do as much. We don't need to be on our phones all the time. We don't need to, have our life run through social media. But at the same time, we live in the age of technology. So when new technology comes, be careful when you criticize it, because that creates a disconnect with what you're trying to pour into the younger generation.
Yes.
But to the younger generation, don't be so quick to write them off.
Yeah.
Because they don't agree.
Yeah. Well, technology has always been around. It's just different.
Yeah.
There was a day when my mom and dad, got their first car, and then the cars got better. So they bought another car and another car. And so technology's always been around, but
It's the
it's funny
evolution
how,
of it.
yeah, as it evolves, one generation can easily critique the next generation for its technology, but it's all part of. But another thing we talked about yesterday that I think is important is, you know, we have to have the right perspective and the right attitude, and that is, we want to set the next generation up for success, and the decisions we make now are based on the next generation. So if you are in my age bracket, and again, it's not about age, we're not trying to create these segregations. We're simply trying to point out that in every church, these are realities. And at some point, I realize that as pastor, I have to start now looking at continuing to grow and become what God wants me to become so I can still lead and grow the church. But at the same time, I have to become a spiritual father to those under me, which means I need to understand what they need, what they like, what works for them. So in the future, we're going to make decisions based on the next generation, which may to us seem, a little different, but it's necessary. If we don't, then we can end up like many other churches who get stuck in one generation and then, no longer exist. And we don't want to be that church. We want legacy to last.
Well, too, in that is whether you agree or disagree, older or younger, for y'all, the older generation, you set the stage to model worship.
Yes.
Regardless of where you're at, what it looks like, you establish what it looks like to worship.
Yes.
That's the greatest connection that you can have with the younger generation. Model worship. Yeah. Whether there's lights everywhere and, fog or haze, or you model worship, or whether it's just in a room that has the awesome fluorescent lights on.
That's right.
Model worship. No matter where you are, no matter what it looks like, model worship.
Yes.
And devotion. Reading the word. How do you worship God? That's what matters.
Yes.
To be passed on, model worship.
That's maturity. Yeah. And so you're passing on maturity. But then we talked about, Pastor Brooklyn talked about, you got to commit to it. Yeah. So we establish it, but then the generation coming after has to commit to it.
Oh, yeah.
They have to take ownership of it. They have to take hold of it. And I thought she brought out some really good points yesterday.
Yeah, talking about protecting,
yes,
to commit.
Yeah.
And really a lot of what I got, she's talking about her kids and how I have to protect this, to commit, and honestly to pass on so that they'll commit to it.
Yes.
And it was so good.
So you don't water down what's being passed down to you.
Right.
Paul stood strong and he told Timothy, listen, don't water it down. You just preach it.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to look different, but you keep doing it. And so I thought that was good. And then I think you talked about the point of owning it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I really, to go from establishing it to commit to it, in my mind, you can commit to it, say, yeah, let's do it. You can start doing it. But then you have to own it. You have to take responsibility for it. Take responsibility of how it takes place, of how it actually comes together.
Yeah.
That's your responsibility to own that.
Yeah.
Own your faith and own your call.
Yes.
You have to model faith, model worship.
Yeah.
You have to own your call. Take responsibility that God has a call in your life. He has a plan for your life. And we have to take responsibility for that. That's part of modeling worship.
Yes.
That's part of passing it on.
And that's where one generation establishes it, and then as the other generations come into play, they commit to it and they own it. But they have to own it. They have their part.
Yeah.
They can't just, wish it's going to happen.
Right.
They have to be involved in the process just like we are involved in the process.
Say it's your job, you're at a job. If your boss doesn't see you taking ownership and responsibility for what you're responsible for,
yeah,
it's going to be noticed. Same principle.
Yeah.
Own your call.
Yes.
Own your anoint. The God will have an anointing that goes with that, and it's worth pursuing and it's worth passing on.
Yeah, I thought that was great yesterday. You had some great points. Pastor Thomas, our legacy youth pastor, brought out you have to instill it. Yeah. It's his responsibility. He feels like his part in the generational process is to instill it in the hearts of the students so they can then own it and commit to it and one day establish it, because all of these generations are evolving all the time. And so I thought he had some really great things to say about instill. It has to be instilled in them. Right. And we have to make sure that we're working hard on that. Yeah. Yeah. And Pastor Bethany came along and wrapped it up with cultivate it. Yeah. And she did a great job too. I think it was
an incredible job.
I think that was her first time speaking in front of people and at a church setting and that big.
If it wasn't just announcing something for the kids. Yeah.
She did great.
No,
I thought
was good.
All of the staff did great. But she was talking about cultivating it. And you have to choose the seed.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I got out of it. The first step in cultivating, a lot of people think you got to turn the dirt. You got to start working, where you're going to plant. No, it's choosing what to plant.
What good is doing all the dirt work and all that if you get the wrong seed?
That's so good.
So parents, you understand that it's important. You need to have your kids in church. You need to be making God a vital part of your home because that's the right seed. You can cultivate all day long, but the seed matters. Into the students, all right? That seed gets put in the ground, and then it gets instilled in them, which means it begins to produce fruit in their life, and then they begin to work into owning it, committing it, establishing it. Yeah. Because here's the reality. All of us are in one of these generational places right now, but we won't stay there. That's just reality. We're all going to be moving up. So as we do, let's enjoy the journey together. But as we do, let's also realize our responsibility as we move upward so that legacy lasts. Yeah. All right? Because I want legacy to last. Should the Lord tarry 100 years from now, I pray Legacy Church is growing stronger, growing bigger, doing more than it ever has, all because we laid the foundation for that to happen. Yeah. Amen. Pastor Andrew, thank you for joining me. Anything else you want to add this morning?
Come to VBS if you have kids.
Yeah, come to VBS.
And really just be a part of what all God is doing at our church. It's just over the last, I would say, year and a half, we're witnessing something that I don't know that this region has ever seen, especially this church.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty supernatural what the Lord's been doing. And so Pastor Zeb's over here, and I want to thank Pastor Zeb for always making sure we're able to broadcast and our sound, lights, everything. He is a vital part of our team. And VBS, he's working hard, making everything work. Prayer rally coming up. He's working hard on getting the sound system ready for that. So kudos to Pastor Zeb. Kudos to the whole staff. Yeah. I sent out a Facebook post not too long ago this morning and just said, after yesterday, watching that service again, I just came away with a renewed love for our church family. I'm just honored to be part of this church family. And I love our staff. We have a great church family, great staff, and I'm looking forward to all that God's going to do. We love you. God bless you. This is going to wrap it up for our Monday morning recap, and we'll see you next Monday morning, God willing, and you have a wonderful day. We'll see you at VBS tonight. God bless.